Season 6, episode 12. This was a pretty fantastic episode. Now, some people probably say this episode was a little bit decent, a little bit solid, and I'd probably agree on this, but some of the better parts kind of came from Harvey, because this was pretty much a character-driven episode, a character piece. We got to go inside of his psyche a bit. And I thought this was actually almost a little bit more better than last week, just to begin with, but Suits is still managing to still find its footing, even though Jessica's pretty much left, and I think they're doing a pretty good job, even though there's some things that was, a little bit off to me just to begin with. Now, let's talk about this episode, because this was, like I said, a pretty good episode just to begin with. Now, overall, this episode was pretty much about Harvey trying to make amends with his mother, and pretty much, we talked about the painting that we saw pretty much last season taken away. What is the meaning behind the painting? Why did he really care about it? And we kind of got our answers in this episode for the most part. And now we can really talk about this just to begin with. Now, to me, just in general, some of the things that I really did enjoy on this episode was that it was pretty much the theme of forgiveness. And I think this episode really showed that forgiveness is pretty much a two-way street. You can't forgive someone and somebody else can't forgive you, because it just doesn't work like that. And I feel like that's really what this episode kind of showed. You have to forgive people, whether it be Lewis and then Harvey and his mother or whatever, and vice versa. You have to kind of go both ways just to begin with. So I thought that actually was one of the better parts of this episode just to begin with. Now, one thing I did notice about this episode was that the flashbacks. Now, Suits tend to have very good flashbacks, and they actually managed to, make, the story actually move forward, even though they're going backwards, which is kind of odd. But some shows kind of use flashbacks as just kind of a way to say something else, but it doesn't really make any sense. But these flashbacks serve a purpose, and I feel like it really did show, especially in these flashbacks, it showed that Donna really is a fantastic supporting person. It really does show that she's pretty much the best thing in Harvey's life just to begin with. And it still kind of baffled me as, how long the writer's going to, take to kind of, make these two get together just to begin with. So it was kind of funny to see. But she was always that person that kind of pushes Harvey towards the edge, so to speak, to kind of, get some momentum going. But also the flashback between the funeral and whatever it may be, I think it showed that Harvey was really just, an atomic bomb full of or anger just waiting to explode, and he was eventually going to collapse. And I thought that really kind of showcased it. The scene at the funeral, or at least, when everybody came back to the house, I thought that was pretty brutal. Him kind of taking down his mother, so to speak, was a pretty bad thing. And I think it showed that even though Harvey is kind of had a little bit of a childlike mentality, so to speak, he wanted that innocence of that wholesome family, he was just kind of sad. And he even admitted himself he was just angry for the most part. But I thought the flashbacks all kind of served the purpose, and I thought that was actually quite good just to begin with. But I always hate the flashback hair Harvey has. And I don't know what it was, but it seemed like the mother was a lot more younger in present day than she was in the past, which was kind of weird to me just to begin with, but that was just my thought. Now, let's talk about Mike, right? Mike has a good thing, because Mike apparently is the luckiest motherfucker on the planet, apparently. So Mike gets a new job, because apparently the person that he was filing for last week offers him a job for cheap pay, because he's pretty much, not really a great, person to work for, obviously, but they needed somebody for the cheap, and apparently they got Mike Ross to work at a legal clinic. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind Mike Ross getting a new job, even though he just had a job last week and he's going to job to job to job. But it makes it very difficult for me to kind of feel like Mike's he's just a regular guy, when he's constantly keep on getting, jobs left and right, especially in New York in this economy. So it's just really? He's just getting jobs left and right. And then Rachel finds out about his job, and she's just like, look, I don't care if you work at a legal clinic or whatever, and we have to move or whatever. I'd live with you in a shoebox. And I was just like, that is hysterical, because you would not live in a shoebox. You probably want to live in a fucking mansion or a castle, which it seems like you might actually be doing. But apparently, that is what it is. I thought the case that they were working on just to begin with at the legal clinic, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting enough. It showed that Mike Ross needed to kind of get back to who he was, which is just a guy that wanted to help people out just to begin with. And I thought the girl that worked at the firm was a little bit annoying at first, but she actually manages to be pretty good towards the end, just to begin with. Now, at first, nobody really knows his past just to begin with. And that's another thing I feel like was in this episode, is just things in the past. Somebody's past just kind of coming back to haunt them. And that was just kind of the case just to begin with this episode. Also, on top of forgiveness, was that I felt as if Mike Ross didn't want anybody to kind of feel ashamed of him if they eventually did know his secret just to begin with. And he pretty much told his story just to begin with. And it was just kind of his way of pretty much saying, I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm not going to hide my secret. Just let people know and just kind of make their own judgments instead of making it, when they get thrown a pie inside of the face and with a big surprise, whatever it may be. So I thought that was pretty good, and it showed that Mike Ross is going back to what it was. And look, I thought it was very ballsy that he actually paid for the woman's rent towards the end. But, it is what it is. But overall, yeah, I thought Mike's side of the story was actually pretty good. And that's the thing. Nobody else really got that many things to do, just to begin with. There was no Harvey-Mike interaction in this episode, just to begin with. And I feel like everybody else just didn't really do much. Other than that, Lewis had his shit. And Lewis pretty much was still kind of feeling the effects of the Harvey outburst from last week. And Donna pretty much told him to take over Harvey's client while Harvey's away. But then again, it's their clients because they work in the same firm now. Here's the thing about this. I thought this was actually an interesting thing. And it was nice to see Rachel kind of give Lewis a little bit of an encouragement and be like, she's proud of him. That was nice to see because Lewis likes encouragement. There was no baby mama drama for Lewis in this episode. But eventually, Harvey does forgive Lewis. And pretty much they kind of agree to be interim managing directors or whatever it may be, partners. And eventually they pretty much keep the name of Pierce Inspector lit because who knows, Jessica might come back. I hope she actually does though. I feel like she is, the show seems like it is missing something that made it kind of special just to begin with. But obviously they're still continuing on and I think they're doing a pretty good job at it. Now, when Harvey does kind of make amends to his mother, they do have a dinner conversation, which I thought was actually pretty good until Harvey started to become a little bit of a dick and I started to become more of on the side of the brother and the family or whatever it may be. And they kind of had a point. Harvey was kind of acting like a little bit of a child just to begin with. And I felt like he just wasn't really listening just at all for the most part. He wanted to make amends and he tried to do it in flashbacks before. But, obviously Bobby, damn Bobby always getting in the way. Is kind of causing a little bit of a problem, but he just wants to be a nice guy, and he has to kind of learn to, get past, the grudges that he has held for so long and just kind of move forward with his life and just kind of, make amends. But overall, I thought the thing that really put Harvey over the spectrum to me is that when his brother Nathan tells him that he had a medical problem and he didn't want to tell Harvey because they would have just had this big old conflict with the family again, and it realizes that Harvey's pretty much just never really around, just to begin with. Now, and I think that pretty much hit him just right in spot. I think the scene that really got me, though, was the breakdown scene when he finally did confront his mother right before they fully made amends. And he pretty much said that, I don't hate you. I hate what you did. I hate what you made me do. And I feel like that was a very powerful scene by Gabriel Macht. And I feel like that really did show that he's a fantastic actor, just to begin with. And I felt like a lot of people could kind of relate to that. And even the line with the mother where she said, I was supposed to protect you, not scar you. I feel like that was a pretty deep and meaningful line. And then she has this painting on the wall, and then we kind of see, and they don't really mention it much, but the painting to me represented his mother. And when the painting was kind of taken away from him in the last season, or the last first half of the season, it pretty much showed that was pretty much his way of losing his mother completely. And that was the only thing that kind of reminded him of his mother. And it showed that he didn't hate her. He just hated, what she did. That represented the times where they were a family, his father, whatever. So I think it was a pretty interesting thing to see. Overall, I think all the stuff with the family aspects of it showed that Harvey was very angry. He was just a child that wanted his family. And then now that he kind of has it, it was never too late. Because he would never forgive himself if everybody was just kind of gone just to begin with. But overall, this episode pretty much ends with Donna and Harvey hanging up the new painting of the duck and his mother, and I believe him, on the wall. And that's pretty much how it ends, just to begin with. Overall, this was a pretty good episode of Suits. Nothing really spectacular, but it showed that Harvey was just wanting his family back. And he was just sad as what the events kind of occurred. But like I said, you can't hold grudges forever because, regret is the thing that kind of kills us all. You can always regret the things you don't. Never regret the things you do, simply put. But that's just my thoughts, and that's my opinion. Comment, subscribe, and like. Share this video if you can. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.